Imagine running a successful business, doing what you love and speaking truth to power only to become the target of a sinister conspiracy. Laura and Michael Turner, the founders of the influential DigitalTrade Digest, were about to uncover the dark side of corporate corruption, but when their honest reporting on a powerful e-commerce giant, TechMart, ruffled feathers, they found themselves trapped in a nightmare that escalated from online trolling to terrifying real-world threats. As their lives spiraled into chaos, the Turners discovered the shocking truth behind their tormentor and the devastating cost of standing up for what's right. This is the chilling story of how the pursuit of truth can lead you to unimaginable danger. Welcome to Silent Crime Case. In 1999, married couple Laura and Michael Turner launched Biz Briefs, a niche newsletter for small business owners navigating the emerging world of e-commerce. The idea was born from their shared love of collecting antiques and Laura's extensive background in journalism. Laura meticulously crafted insightful articles, while Michael managed operations, ensuring the newsletter reached their growing subscriber base. From their cozy home in Westport, Connecticut, BizBriefs became a trusted source of industry news, offering transparency and expert insights in a fast-evolving digital marketplace. Over 2 decades, the newsletter's readership swelled, earning accolades for its integrity and incisive commentary on platforms like TradeHub and Emporium X. By 2019, the Turners had rebranded their publication as DigitalTrade Digest, now considered indispensable for online sellers worldwide. Laura's investigative reporting illuminated the intricate dynamics of digital commerce, cementing her as a respected voice in the industry. Yet, as their publication's influence grew, so did the stakes and dangers of speaking truth to power. The Turners found themselves at the forefront of e-commerce reporting, but their commitment to honest journalism would soon place them in the crosshairs of a sinister conspiracy. Little did they know, their dedication to uncovering the truth would lead to a chain of events that would upend their lives and test their resolve in unimaginable ways. On July 28, 2019, The Atlantic published a damning exposé about TechMart, a dominant e-commerce corporation, accusing it of systematically undermining competitors. The following day, Laura Turner authored a critical analysis, TechMart's Legal Tactics Under Scrutiny, scrutinizing CEO Alan Pierce's inability to address declining user satisfaction and vendor attrition. The piece resonated widely, sparking industry debates and drawing sharp attention to DigitalTrade Digest. Yet, unbeknownst to Laura, her critique struck a nerve at TechMart's upper echelons. High-ranking executives viewed her detailed analysis as a direct threat, painting her as a destabilizing force. Days later, an anonymous Twitter account named Shadow Trader surfaced, sending Laura cryptic messages. "What's your problem with TechMart?" they wrote. The account's avatar, a hooded figure with glowing eyes, hinted at something dark and foreboding. Seasoned in handling online trolls, Laura ignored the interaction, hoping it would dissipate. However, this only incited further hostility. Shadow Trader's tone turned menacing, warning her to watch her back. For Laura and Michael, the messages were unsettling, but they believed them to be empty threats from an overly zealous individual. As the days passed, the Turners continued their work, oblivious to the storm brewing around them. Shadow Trader's anger, however, was far from idle. The seeds of a malicious campaign had been planted, and soon, the Turners would find themselves embroiled in a nightmare that would threaten their safety, sanity, and very livelihood. By late August, the Turners' home had become a fortress. Security cameras, motion sensors, and reinforced locks offered little comfort against the unseen threat. Michael began to notice subtle signs of surveillance. Cars idling just beyond the streetlight's reach, shadows flitting past their windows late at night, and unfamiliar figures loitering near their property. Each incident was reported to the authorities, but the lack of evidence made it impossible to act. One evening, as Michael reviewed security footage, he spotted a figure standing just beyond the perimeter of their yard. Clad in dark clothing, the figure seemed to stare directly into the camera before disappearing into the night. The couple's anxiety mounted as they realized the harassment had escalated from psychological to physical. Meanwhile, Shadow Trader's online presence grew bolder. A new post read, "The walls are closing in. Can you feel it?" accompanied by a photo of a darkened room eerily similar to their study. Laura and Michael's once unshakable resolve began to waver. Desperate for answers, they hired a cybersecurity expert to trace Shadow Trader's activity. The investigation revealed a troubling pattern. The harassment originated from multiple locations, suggesting a coordinated effort rather than the actions of a single individual. This revelation shifted their fear to suspicion. Was this the work of a disgruntled individual, or was something larger at play? For the Turners, the line between paranoia and reality blurred further with each passing day. The Turners' private investigator, Lucas Greer, uncovered an alarming pattern in the harassment campaign. While some of the threats appeared to stem from a single individual, a deeper analysis revealed the use of burner phones, prepaid debit cards, and encrypted messaging platforms. Shadow traders' tactics demonstrated an alarming level of technological sophistication, including the ability to monitor law enforcement activity. Greer discovered that the harassers had even tuned into police radio frequencies to evade detection when reports of suspicious vehicles were filed. Adding to the chaos, fraudulent online advertisements claiming the Turners were hosting a garage sale led to streams of strangers arriving at their home. Neighbors began receiving inappropriate packages with Michael's name on them, and a Craigslist post described their residence as a party house, inviting strangers to knock on their door at all hours. Further investigation linked the harassment to IP addresses registered at TechMart's headquarters. Chat logs between employees included conversations about neutralizing Laura's influence. Greer's findings revealed a dossier compiled to discredit Laura and Michael, portraying them as persons of interest who posed a threat to TechMart's leadership. The Turners' fear was no longer confined to a faceless troll. It was a sophisticated operation fueled by corporate resources. In September, a breakthrough offered a glimmer of hope. The cybersecurity expert identified a critical oversight by Shadow Traders' network. One of the accounts had failed to use a VPN during a session, exposing its location to a suburban neighborhood near TechMart's San Jose headquarters. Armed with this lead, law enforcement obtained a warrant to investigate the IP address further. The investigation traced the activity to a mid-level TechMart employee, identified only as Daniel G. The Turners felt a mix of relief and anger. While the discovery provided a concrete link to TechMart, it also confirmed their suspicions of a larger conspiracy. As investigators delved deeper, they unearthed troubling evidence. Daniel's emails revealed discussions about Laura's articles, with directives to neutralize her influence. More shockingly, these emails were CC'd to higher-ups, implicating multiple layers of management. TechMart's legal team acted swiftly, issuing public denials and suspending Daniel pending an internal review. Fearing for their lives, the Turners contacted local authorities once more. The police began regular patrols of the neighborhood but found no tangible leads. Desperate for answers, the Turners hired a private investigator, hoping to uncover the identity of their tormentor. Yet each attempt to trace Shadow Traders' origins hit a dead end. The harassers' methods were disturbingly sophisticated, utilizing burner phones, encrypted emails, and anonymous accounts. The Turners' anxiety reached a fever pitch as they realized their tormentor wasn't merely trying to frighten them. This was a meticulously planned campaign with no clear end in sight. Laura and Michael's once peaceful lives had become a waking nightmare, and the question lingered. Who was behind this, and how far were they willing to go? The Turners' fears deepened when a package arrived containing an unsettling surprise. A pig's mask, bloodied and grotesque, resembling one seen in infamous horror films. Attached was a note that read, "See you soon." This latest delivery sent chills through the couple, leaving them to question the lengths to which their tormentor would go. Determined to find answers, Michael turned to the internet, researching methods of tracing anonymous threats. Despite his efforts, the tools used by Shadow Trader left no traceable digital footprint. Burner phones, prepaid cards, and encrypted messages painted a picture of a tormentor well-versed in covering their tracks. Laura, meanwhile, tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy by continuing her work on DigitalTrade Digest. Her articles, however, became a target for increasingly hostile comments, many of which seemed coordinated. New accounts appeared, echoing Shadow Trader's threats and criticisms. One commenter wrote, "You think you're safe behind words. Wait until you see what's coming." Despite their terror, the Turners resolved not to be silenced. They reached out to law enforcement again, hoping for new developments, but the police were constrained by the lack of tangible leads. As the days passed, the couple's isolation grew, their once supportive network of friends and colleagues thinning out under the weight of fear. Laura and Michael knew they were facing an orchestrated campaign, one that was as personal as it was relentless. The question of why they had been targeted lingered ominously, with no clear answers in sight. Shadow Traders' menacing behavior escalated rapidly, but this was far from ordinary trolling. Late one night, Laura's inbox was inundated with over 50 unsolicited subscriptions to extremist newsletters promoting ideologies such as communism, satanic worship, and cult-like activities. Some subscriptions advertised grotesque content featuring bondage, cadavers, and other disturbing themes. Meanwhile, Michael's email was bombarded with cryptic messages suggesting their every move was being watched. The harassment extended beyond emails. On August 5th, the Turners received a package containing a grotesque clown mask accompanied by a chilling note: "Keep smiling while you can." Days later, another package arrived with a preserved fetal pig, and on the same evening, Michael was notified of a delivery containing a book ominously titled Grief Diaries, Surviving the Loss of a Spouse. The couple's anxiety grew as they realized the calculated precision of their harassers' attacks. The next day, two of their neighbors received packages with Michael's name on them, containing inappropriate and offensive material. The sinister events made it clear to Laura and Michael that their lives were under siege, yet they resolved to endure, hoping that their silence would dissuade Shadow Trader. However, the tormentors' actions only grew bolder, each delivery and message pushing the Turners deeper into a nightmare. This was no longer just about online harassment. It was a coordinated and calculated campaign to instill fear, shatter their resolve, and ruin their lives. By mid-August, the Turners' nightmare had intensified. Michael received a chilling package containing a preserved crow, accompanied by a note that read, "A harbinger of what's to come." Around the same time, Laura's cell phone buzzed incessantly with calls and messages from strangers responding to a fraudulent ad placed online. The listing falsely claimed the Turners were hosting a garage sale, offering expensive items for free. Their quiet suburban neighborhood was soon flooded with visitors, all hoping to claim non-existent treasures. Despite repeated explanations, some visitors refused to leave, demanding access to the sale. Adding to the chaos, a black SUV with tinted windows was seen circling their block. Michael, increasingly paranoid, documented its license plate and reported it to the authorities, but the investigation yielded no leads. At night, the Turners were plagued by the thought of being watched. Every creak of their home and shadow outside seemed to signal a new threat. Fearing for their safety, they installed surveillance cameras and reinforced their doors. Yet the measures provided little comfort. Shadow Trader's online presence remained relentless. Messages like "Your time is running out and no one escapes me" left Laura and Michael trapped in a constant state of vigilance. It was clear this was no random act of trolling but a calculated campaign of terror. The Turners were no longer just journalists. They had become targets in a dangerous game orchestrated by an invisible adversary intent on destroying their lives. On August 12th, the tormentors' actions took a grim turn. A funeral wreath adorned with black roses and a chilling message that read, "In memory of your career," was delivered to their doorstep. The florist who delivered the wreath could offer little information, revealing only that the order had been placed using a prepaid card. That evening, Michael noticed an unfamiliar vehicle parked near their home. The driver, barely visible in the twilight, appeared to be observing their house. Gathering his courage, Michael approached the car, only for it to speed away into the night. Shadow Trader's online messages grew darker, taunting them with cryptic phrases. "Do you hear the clock ticking? It's almost midnight." For Laura and Michael, the fight was far from over. While the investigation was a step forward, they knew that TechMart's resources could stall justice indefinitely. Nevertheless, the couple resolved to cooperate fully, providing every piece of evidence they had gathered. The Turners' story began to garner media attention, shining a spotlight on the shadowy tactics of powerful corporations. Though still under siege, they found solace in the knowledge that their ordeal might spark systemic change, exposing the darker side of corporate influence and intimidation. As law enforcement delved deeper, forensic analysis uncovered evidence of a discredit and disrupt strategy orchestrated by TechMart's security division. Chat logs revealed that Shadow Trader's messages were just one facet of a broader operation designed to torment the Turners. Messages contained instructions to post fake ads, send grotesque packages, and utilize burner phones to avoid detection. In addition to grotesque items like the clown mask and the pig's head, there were plans to send coffins and even involve exotic dancers to humiliate the couple. Investigators also discovered a meticulously crafted dossier falsely accusing Laura and Michael of making threats against TechMart's leadership. Despite these efforts, the evidence trail led directly to multiple TechMart employees, including senior executives. Further scrutiny revealed emails implicating Alan Pierce and other high-ranking individuals, detailing their knowledge of and approval for the harassment. The systematic nature of the campaign was undeniable, and the evidence uncovered went far beyond what the Turners had imagined. For Laura and Michael, the unmasking of their tormentors was a bittersweet victory. Their lives had been irreparably changed, but the truth had finally been exposed. As the case against TechMart moved into the courtroom, the prosecution laid bare the intricate web of harassment orchestrated against the Turners. Key witnesses, including former TechMart employees, testified to a culture of silence and intimidation within the corporation's security division. Emails and internal documents were presented as evidence, showcasing the company's systematic attempts to undermine Laura's credibility and drive her into submission. One damning piece of evidence included a flowchart labeled Operation Silence, outlining every step of the harassment campaign. The court also heard audio recordings of planning meetings, where senior executives discussed strategies to avoid legal accountability. For Laura and Michael, the trial was both vindicating and harrowing. They listened as their private suffering was dissected in excruciating detail, reliving the nightmare they had fought so hard to survive. Yet the public nature of the trial brought unexpected allies. Journalists, whistleblowers, and advocacy groups rallied behind the Turners, turning their fight into a broader movement against corporate abuse. The defense, however, sought to paint the Turners as opportunists exaggerating their ordeal for personal gain. Their claims fell flat against the overwhelming evidence. With each passing day, the courtroom became a stage where the Turners' truth prevailed. The prosecution's case gained momentum, and the jury's reactions hinted at a growing alignment with the couple's plight. As the trial reached its midpoint, the question loomed. Would justice be served, or would TechMart's influence tilt the scales in their favor? TechMart's legal team mounted an aggressive defense, attempting to deflect blame from the corporation's leadership. They argued that the actions against the Turners were the work of rogue employees acting without authorization. The company's CEO, Alan Pierce, took the stand to distance himself from the scandal. In his testimony, Pierce claimed ignorance of the harassment campaign, asserting that TechMart's corporate policies strictly prohibited such behavior. However, cross-examination revealed inconsistencies in his statements. Internal emails showed Pierce receiving updates on Laura's articles and commenting on their perceived impact on the company. One email even contained Pierce's directive to neutralize the Turners, though he insisted the term was metaphorical. The defense also presented character witnesses to undermine the Turners' credibility, portraying Laura as a bias-driven journalist. Despite these efforts, their arguments were frequently dismantled by the prosecution. Expert witnesses testified to the systematic nature of the harassment, emphasizing that such a coordinated effort was unlikely without high-level oversight. The defense's narrative further unraveled when whistleblowers came forward, corroborating the Turners' claims and implicating TechMart's leadership. Each revelation strengthened the prosecution's case, leaving the defense scrambling to maintain its position. For the Turners, watching the defense's tactics was infuriating but also validating. The corporation's desperate attempts to rewrite the narrative only underscored the depth of its culpability. As the trial neared its conclusion, the Turners remained cautiously hopeful, aware that a verdict was imminent but far from guaranteed. After weeks of testimony and evidence presentation, the jury began deliberations. The Turners waited anxiously, knowing the decision would determine not only their future, but also the precedent for holding powerful corporations accountable. Public interest in the trial reached a fever pitch, with media outlets and social platforms buzzing with speculation. Laura and Michael found themselves at the center of a broader conversation about corporate ethics and the responsibility of companies to respect individual rights. Inside the jury room, discussions were intense. Jurors weighed the overwhelming evidence against the defense's assertions of rogue actors and corporate ignorance. The flowchart from Operation Silence proved to be a pivotal piece of evidence, as did testimonies from whistleblowers and former employees. Jurors grappled with the implications of their verdict, understanding that their decision could have far-reaching consequences. Meanwhile, the Turners' legal team prepared for all eventualities, emphasizing their commitment to seeing justice served. After 3 days of deliberation, the jury reached a unanimous decision. In a packed courtroom, the foreperson announced the verdict. TechMart was guilty of orchestrating a targeted harassment campaign. The company and implicated individuals were held liable for their actions, facing significant fines and legal repercussions. For Laura and Michael, the verdict was a moment of vindication. Though the scars of their ordeal remained, the acknowledgement of their suffering brought a measure of closure. The verdict also sent a powerful message to corporations everywhere. No one is above the law. In the wake of the trial, the Turners began rebuilding their lives. DigitalTrade Digest continued to thrive, its readership swelling as supporters rallied around the couple's resilience. Laura and Michael used their platform to advocate for stronger protections against corporate harassment, working with legislators and advocacy groups to push for meaningful reforms. TechMart, meanwhile, faced immense fallout. Public trust in the company plummeted, leading to significant financial losses and a leadership overhaul. Alan Pierce resigned under pressure, while other implicated executives faced criminal charges and civil lawsuits. The case sparked a wave of introspection across the corporate world, prompting many companies to reevaluate their policies and practices. For the Turners, life after the trial was a mix of triumph and struggle. The emotional toll of their ordeal lingered, manifesting in moments of anxiety and vulnerability. Yet their bond as a couple grew stronger, forged in the crucible of shared adversity. They reflected on the power of perseverance and the importance of standing up for truth, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Their story became a symbol of hope and courage, inspiring others to confront injustice wherever it arose. Though they would never forget the nightmare they endured, the Turners found solace in knowing their fight had made a difference. They emerged not as victims but as advocates for change, their voices louder and more resolute than ever before. The Turners' battle against TechMart left an indelible mark on the landscape of corporate accountability. Their case became a landmark example of the power of individual resistance against systemic wrongdoing. Advocacy groups cited their story as a rallying cry for reforms, pushing for stricter laws to protect whistleblowers, journalists, and everyday citizens from harassment by powerful entities. Universities included the case in business ethics curricula, using it to illustrate the consequences of corporate overreach and the importance of transparency. Laura and Michael continued to champion these causes, attending conferences and collaborating with organizations dedicated to safeguarding press freedom. Their work extended beyond advocacy, as they mentored other journalists facing intimidation and worked to establish a fund supporting investigative reporting. For the couple, the greatest reward was the impact of their actions on future generations. Young entrepreneurs and reporters reached out to share how the Turners' courage had inspired them to pursue their own paths with integrity. Though their lives would never return to the simplicity of their pre-harassment days, the Turners embraced their new roles as catalysts for change. Their story served as a testament to the enduring power of truth, resilience, and the human spirit. As they looked to the future, Laura and Michael remained committed to their mission, knowing that their journey was far from over. Together they stood as proof that even in the darkest times, light could prevail. The Turners' journey wasn't just about surviving an orchestrated campaign of terror. It was about exposing the dark underbelly of corporate manipulation and the lengths powerful entities will go to silence the truth. Their story serves as a reminder that sometimes speaking out comes with a price, but their unwavering determination to fight for justice proves that no matter how dangerous the road ahead, truth always has a way of coming to light. If you found this story as shocking as we did, don't forget to hit the like button, share this video with others, and subscribe to Silent Crime Case for more incredible stories of courage, justice, and the fight against hidden corruption. Stay tuned, stay safe, and remember sometimes, the truth is the most dangerous weapon of all. Thanks for watching.